Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone in the webinar. I want to welcome you from my home office in Italy. My name is Isabel, and I'm from the VIDIA marketing team. Let us know in the comments where you're based, because we would really like to know, and we can share it also with the audience. So today we are going to present the brand new, amazing VIDIA Hanita and mill, that is the VariMill XTREME. But before we start, I just wanted to say a few words on safety, because this is one of the VIDIA core values in the organization. So whether you are in your home office or in your company office, in your car or anywhere else, please make sure that your surroundings are safe. And especially if you're driving, I recommend stopping, because Patrizio, our presenter today, that is also the Solid and Milling Global Product Manager, is going to show a great presentation as well as videos, success stories. And if it's the first time that you attend a video webinar, I want to tell you welcome to the VIDIA metal cutting community. We organize around 2 to 3 training events a month, and we want to help you broaden your metal cutting knowledge and really enable you to choose the best products and solutions that can make your customers happy. So today we are going to have around 45 minutes of presentation from Patrizio, and then he's going to answer your questions in the Q&A session at the end. So on the right of your screen, you have a questions panel, and feel free to write any questions throughout the session so we can answer them probably at the end. So a couple of other things that could be useful. If you want to join the next webinars, I will shortly add a link to the chat. You can subscribe there and you will receive the emails about the next trainings. We have a training in a week that is about machining stainless steel and high temp alloys with turning and hole making products. So make sure that you subscribe to this link so you can receive the invitation if you have not registered yet. And I think we're ready. I will leave it to Patrizio because he has a very good presentation, and enjoy the webinar. Yeah, just a few comments. We have people, Bulgaria, Liverpool, Nottingham, hi, Boston. So great, all over the world. Patrizio, are you ready?
Of course. Thank you, Isabel. And good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining also from my side. So very exciting today because we are going to introduce a really incredible new product, as Isabel already mentioned during the presentation. Is the brand new VariMill XTREME from Hanita. So before we start diving into the product features, characteristics, and also capability, let me clarify just one thing, because probably you have noticed already from the cover of my presentation that we have 2 logos here, VIDIA and Hanita. So Hanita, I mean, many of you already knows this name from the history because it's a brand coming from Israel that has already a big history, and all the history of Hanita is very well connected with solid carbide end mills and the aerospace industry and machining of challenging type of material. So what we are doing in this period is to make this Hanita brand and logo much more prominent, because I mean, even if you have watched some of the LinkedIn posts that we have done recently, you have seen that Hanita is becoming more and more prominent because we want to make this more visible, and this is the reason why you see this brand now also on this presentation. So Hanita is part of the VIDIA offering, okay, and this is the reason why you see the 2 brands appearing on the presentation. But anyway, this new VariMill XTREME, as well as the high performance portion of our portfolio, will be Hanita branded, because this is the brand that we want to have indicating the high performance, material specific, application specific type of products that we have into the solid and milling portfolio. So, and the VariMill XTREME is into this portfolio and market new, because this is one of the products that we are launching this year together with other solution that we are going to release in the next few months. So also from this side, stay tuned, because the VariMill XTREME is not the only new product we are going to release in 2021. So we have other coming. So in the next few weeks and months, you will receive other invitation for other webinar talking about other incredible new solution from the Hanita brand. All right, with this, I'm want to jump into now the product, and really I cannot hold myself, because as soon as I saw this product running in our lab, I was really impressed about the capability and what we are going today. So we are going to see and to learn more about what the VariMill XTREME is capable to do. Okay, so we are going to see some of the application example, even in challenging material, showing the great capability of the VariMill XTREME. And in the meanwhile, we are also going to understand why, okay, the VariMill XTREME is capable to do those type of application. So we are going to learn more about the features and the geometrical details of the product and the great patent that we brought on the market now with the new VariMill XTREME. So the first thing I want to do now is to touch the value proposition of this product. So to understand what type of benefit the new VariMill XTREME can bring to the machining environment. All right. So the VariMill XTREME is for all the machining companies who seek for a versatile solution capable to machine a broad range of material, while in the same time giving high productivity and also reduce the manufacturing cost through aggressive machining condition. So as you can see from the value proposition, there are three elements that are outstanding in my opinion. So we can say the VariMill XTREME being versatile, productive, and aggressive. So we also summarize the value proposition in a very short tagline to make sure that everyone understands the great benefit of the VariMill XTREME. So we call it aggressive versatility, right? So these are, in my eyes, the two main topic around this product. So the aggressiveness, so the capability to run at very high cutting parameter first, and to face some of the common operation really with big depth of cut and big width of cut. Okay, and this is something that we are going to see during some of the video that I have to share with you today. And on the other side, the other very important concept is the versatility. So the versatility means that the VariMill XTREME is capable to work on multiple material. It's not really a material specific type of product, but we can run the VariMill XTREME on steel, stainless steel, cast iron, and super alloys. Okay, so we have really a kind of multi-application type of geometry. So versatility while we are keeping a high level of productivity. So we will come back again on the versatility concept in a second, because this is something really important that we need to explain probably a little bit more in the detail. Anyway, as you can understand, of course, from the naming, the VariMill XTREME is part of the bigger VariMill family. If you know a little bit the Hanita portfolio under the VariMill, we have many different styles and geometry. Okay, so you see we have the VariMill I, the VariMill II, the VariMill II-ER, the VariMill II Long, and the VariMill III-ER. Because normally what we did in the past, it was to develop different style of tools depending on the application, on the target application that we want to tackle with that product. Okay, so the VariMill I is probably the most generic type of product, while moving more on the right hand side, we are going to see those products are more application and material specific. Okay, for example, like the VariMill II and the VariMill III, they are 5-7 flute, very specific for the aerospace environment, where we have a lot of titanium, Inconel, Astelloy, any kind of super alloys. What we are doing with the VariMill XTREME is basically to improve and increase the capability of the original VariMill I design. So we are talking about a 4-flute type of end mill. So we developed a new generation of a 4-flute end mill, giving more capability when it comes to roughing, and also the possibility with the actual 4-flute, so the new VariMill XTREME, to cover a portion of the application that normally we cover with a 5-flute type of end mill. You see that the coverage of the VariMill XTREME is also on top of the VariMill II. The VariMill II is a 5-flute type of end mill. So now we have a 4-flute capable to cover portion also of the 5-flute type of operation. So, and this is not only true for our product in comparison to our own products, but we have already example coming also, let me say, for real life cases versus the competition, where the competitor were using a 5-flute, and we have been able to overcome and increase the productivity of the customer using our 4-flute design. Okay, and this is another way also to look at the versatility topic. Okay, so what in the past we normally did using a 4-flute and then maybe a 5-flute, today you can consolidate the operation using one single type of end mill, right? So when we talk about versatility, I want to make very clear that this doesn't mean that the VariMill XTREME is a general purpose type of product. So we are not talking about a GP type of product. So versatility is only the capability to address multiple type of operation, multiple type of material, and also the possibility for the customer to have one tool running multiple operations. So one tool maybe even across the entire shop floor, depending on the operation they have to run on their machine. So the VariMill XTREME, as it is, so we can look at this product as a natural evolution of the already successful original Hanita VariMill technology. Okay, so we took part of the existing technology. Okay, we used that as a baseline, and then we build up, we evolved the existing VariMill I technology into the VariMill XTREME. But what is here important is that with the improved capability of the VariMill XTREME, this will increase the productivity, okay, reducing the machine downtime, okay, because we're going to see how, thanks to the increased chip evacuation capability, the improved edge strengths, and so on, we can avoid typical 2 breakages, okay, and we can increase the productivity and also the profit of our customer, reducing also the machine downtime. So the time that the customer normally used to change the tool or to move into a different solution to run a specific application. So increase productivity while keeping a high level of versatility. And of course, as we mentioned at the beginning, also the VariMill XTREME is part of the Hanita full solution package offering. So every type of product is into the high performance level of solution. Okay, now to understand better the capability of the VariMill XTREME, I think that we can start from the problem that we want to try to solve, okay, with the VariMill XTREME. So normally every type of product development normally start from a problem, okay? If there is no any problem, normally there's not the need to develop a new product. So with the VariMill XTREME, we were thinking about which are the typical problem that require the customer or the shop floor to reduce the cutting parameter, otherwise we're going to break the tool, okay? So here I try to summarize in this snapshot which are the 4 main problematic areas in running an end mill in the 2 main typical type of operation, okay? Slotting, okay, first of all, when we are 100% engaged into the material, and then the side milling, okay? So we can talk about dynamic milling, we can talk about contouring, shouldering, every type of operation where the amount of radial engagement is always between 10 to probably 40%, okay? So what stands out, in my opinion, first of all, is the chip evacuation, especially when we are fully engaged into the material, okay? So when we are 100%, engage into the material running a slotting operation, the main issue is always the chip evacuation, okay, that lead normally to the breakage of the tool, or anyway to the chipping of the cutting edge, okay. So the chip evacuation is really the first problem that we always keep in mind in designing the new VariMill XTREME, okay. So and you have to understand that a 4-flute end mills, it's really the bread and butter of machining, okay. Everyone has a 4-flute type of end mill in their shop floor, and every single competitor has a 4-flute type of end mill in their portfolio. So really here, what we did is basically to reinvent the 4-flute type of designing, because we touch every single area of the geometry of the end mill to make sure, first of all, that we ensure always the perfect chip evacuation in every kind of condition, and for the material that I have already mentioned, so steel, stainless steel, cast iron, and superalloy. So chip evacuation, the first one. The second other problem is always around what we call corner stability, okay. So if you have some experience in machining, which I'm sure you have, you know that maybe due to the vibration, or due to a bad chip evacuation, or because of deflection, because of many different variables, sometimes happen that the corner, okay, the corner area of the end mill tend to break, okay, or generate any chipping or something like that. And normally when you have chipping or breakage of the corner of the end mill, basically your tool is done. So you cannot run anymore, because otherwise you start to have a bad impact on the surface quality, and then you start to have bad chip formation. So your tool is done. In order to increase the tool life of the end mill, and also to increase the possible cutting parameter, the other key area is really the corner stability. And then, of course, other two areas are the breakage, okay? But anyway, the breakage is normally a direct consequence of the chip evacuation, and what we call deflection, that is normally generated by unstable cutting forces generation, especially when we have a type of side milling operation, all right? So these are the 4 key areas we use to develop the geometrical feature of the new VariMill XTREME. So starting from those very, let me say, simple problem. I mean, simple because they are obvious, but they are not so simple to solve, okay? You can see here in this kind of snapshot all the area that we touched during our development of the product, okay? So this is really a crowded slide, because you see there are many arrows and lines and words and sentences. So it's really not my style, but I think it's a good snapshot to make clear how much engineering work we put into the VariMill XTREME, because as I mentioned, every single area of the geometry has been touched and revised and re-engineered during the development of the VariMill XTREME. So we work on the gashing, on the shape of the end face, how the flutes are divided. We work on the chip flute and on the core design. So everything has been really re-engineered to make sure that, first of all, the chip evacuation is always to be the best, and also to protect the corner of the end mill, okay, to achieve really the corner stability that we mentioned a moment ago. So here is another view, okay, using colors to understand the area that we touched and we use for the development of the VariMill XTREME, okay? And what is very important is that every single feature that you see here is protected by a patent, okay? So it's something that it's really proprietary for WIDIA Hanita in this case. So we started with what we call parabolic core, that is this kind of brown area that you can see highlighted in in the 3D model in this case. So we're not using a conical core anymore, or we don't use any kind of cylindrical core anymore, but we developed a very complex and specific shape of the core to make sure that we have always enough space for the chip to evacuate, okay, from the cutting zone, but in the same time to have a strong core design to make sure that we are not going to generate any deflection, especially when we are on side milling, and then to reduce the risk of breakage. Okay, so we really try to think about a possible design to basically guarantee the two things. Okay, space for the chips to go out from the flute and the cutting area, and in the same time reducing the deflection and the risk of breakage. The same thing is around the shape of the flute that we call W flute shape. Okay, so we have a kind of very unique flute section. Okay, to make sure here that we are going to increase the space for the flute, the space for the chip to go through the flute in this case. Twisted end face is probably the most important feature, and this is something that we're going to see into the detail, okay, in the next slide. Okay, so we have a very particular geometry of the end face, especially to protect the corner, okay, because you need to know that the corner are normally the weakest point of the end mill, and as I mentioned before, it's very important to protect them from chipping and breakages. So, and through the twisted end face, we are really going to protect the corner of the end mill. Faceted relief, so this portion here in green is one of the features that gives the versatility, okay, to the VariMill XTREME, giving the capability to work on steel and in the same time to work on material like Inconel and titanium, okay, because normally these are materials that require really normally different geometrical feature. So now with the faceted relief, we have been able to incorporate different features to make sure that we can face machining of steel and superalloys in the same type of tool. Then we have what we call chip gashes, okay, in the flute, okay, to reduce basically the contact area between the chip and the end mill, to reduce the cutting forces, to reduce the friction, the heat development, to reduce the temperature. And the other thing is the non-linear gash profile. So this area where normally we have the chip formation, we develop a specific type of geometry to make sure that we have the best evacuation starting from the, let me say, chip generation zone. All right, so let's start with what we call the twisted end face. Okay, so first of all, the benefit of the twisted end face are basically around, first of all, the protection of the corner, as I mentioned before. Okay, and I have a picture in the next slide showing exactly why the twisted end face is very good for protecting the external corner of the end mill. But then, of course, the other point is around the development of the cutting forces. Okay, because having a kind of curved shape of the cutting edge, we have a much better and much more balanced development of the cutting forces. Okay, instead of being concentrated maybe in just one point, having this twisted end face give us the possibility to have the cutting forces more, let me say, equally divided across the entire length of the cutting edge. All right, so to make even more clear what I mean with the benefit of the twisted end face, here we have the comparison between the existing VariMill I, okay, so our, let me say, standard 4-flute design that we have already into the VariMill family, and the new VariMill XTREME. So I believe that you can notice the difference, okay, because on the VariMill I we have straight cutting edges, okay, looking from the end face of the end mill, while on the VariMill XTREME the shape is not straight, but we have this kind of twisted shape, okay. And also when you look at the disposition of the cutting edge, On the VariMill I, we have something that we call unequal flute spacing. Okay. Here on the VariMill XTREME, we have something that we call asymmetrical flute spacing. Basically, because on the VariMill I, we have two angles, okay, happening. Okay, something like we have a wider angle here, and then we have a smaller angle here, and then again the same angle, big angle on the third flute, and then a smaller angle on the fourth flute. On the VariMill XTREME, every flute has a different angle, okay, to make sure that we have always the same space in the flute for the chip to go out, and not having a couple of flutes where the space basically is going to be smaller, right? So here are basically the main difference between the two designs, okay? And let me say the VariMill I design now is becoming common, because even when you look at many competitors, let me say, this kind of unequal flute spacing is going to be more or less always the same, okay? Now with the VariMill XTREME, we have changed completely the rules of the game, because combining the asymmetrical as well as the twisted end face, we are going to have something that is completely unique in the market, giving us the advantage to have a better cutting forces development, first of all, and then in the same time to protect the corner of the end mill. And the reason why we are going to protect the corner, I try to visualize that in this slide. Okay, so here we have, let's assume that this red line is basically our component. Okay, so the moment when the cutting edge is hitting the component. So with the VariMill I or any other existing type of geometry, so the cutting edge is going to hit the component exactly all in the same moment, okay, generating a kind of shock, okay, on the end mill, especially on the corner, because the forces, the cutting forces, are normally concentrated mainly on the external area of the edge preparation, okay? So that's why normally you get breakage in this area, because you have always high forces and the weakest point of the end mill, okay, meeting together. So if you exaggerate with the cutting parameter, normally on a usual design, you're going to get breakage in this point. With the VariMill XTREME, thanks to the fact that we have a twisted kind of design, let me say that the point of contact is going to be what I call differentiated, okay? So the first portion to enter into the material is what we have towards the center, okay? And then step by step, you have the remaining portion of the cutting edge entering the material. So you can understand that the cutting forces are going to be more divided or equally divided along the entire length of the cutting edge. So not only concentrated here on the top, but starting from here to the top, always the same. So that's why the corners are going to be protected, and you can increase the feed rate without having breakage or chipping of the corner radii or the chamfer here at the external portion of the cutting edge of the VariMill XTREME. So another important point is around the what we call dish profile. Okay, so in any kind of end mill, normally the cutting edge is not fully, let me say, at 0 degrees. Okay, you always have what we normally call dish angle. Okay, from the external point to the center cut, this portion here normally have a 3 to 5 degrees, 7 degrees maybe, depending from the design and the material that we want to machine, type of angle. And this is also normally the limit of the maximum ramping angle that you can do into the full material. Okay, so if you want to enter with a ramp based on the dish angle, you have your maximum ramping angle that is normally between, as I said, 5 to 7 degrees. What we did on the VariMill XTREME is that we changed completely the design from a simple angle to what we call arch radius type of profile. Okay, so this is not straight, it's going to be a radii, giving us mainly two benefits. First of all, protect the center cut. Okay, this is another weak point normally in the end mill geometry. Okay, so we have the center cut very well protected because of this geometry. And on the second point of view, we have unlimited ramping capability. So you can go even 45 degrees into the full material ramping angle, but we will see also this into some of the video that I have. You can even drill with the VariMill XTREME. So you can perform a drilling operation with the VariMill XTREME into the full material. And when we talk about versatility, this is exactly what I mean. So instead of using a drill, maybe for a short depth type of hole, you don't need to use a drill. So you can go directly with the VariMill XTREME, making your drilling operation and then go ramping and then go full slot and whatever you want. So many multiple operations combined into one single tool. That's one of the versatility concepts that I have in mind, and you can apply using the VariMill XTREME. Now, moving forward with some of the other most important technical feature is what we call the chip gashes within the flute. Okay, because as soon as you get the end mill in your hand, you will notice that we have this kind of small depressions, okay, that are highlighted in yellow here on the picture into the flute, and these are not chip breaker. Okay, don't try to confuse the two things. Chip breaker is something different. These are chip gashes, and the main feature or the main goal of the chip gashes is basically to reduce the point of contact between the chip, okay, the thing that you see here in green, and the surface of the end mill. Okay, so basically you're going to generate a kind of depression here in the middle. So basically you have less friction, and then you have less cutting forces. So that's why you have an increase to life, and anyway you have also the capability to run at higher parameter. So in demonstration to that, I put here the picture of the chips that we can get from the existing VariMill I, that it was without any chip gashes, and the VariMill XTREME. So running the same type of steel, same type of coolant, the same type of machine, so exactly the same type of condition. And you can see how the VariMill XTREME chips are much less blue compared to the VariMill I chips. Okay, so when you have blue color on the chip, this indicates that you have higher temperature. Okay, so with the VariMill XTREME at comparable or exactly the same cutting parameter on the same material, you see that the color of the chip is more on the greens, on the gray side, indicating that we have less temperature. And when you have less temperature, means that you have lower cutting forces and you will get longer to life for sure. Okay, because temperature is always associated to life. So less the temperature, longer the to life. This is a basic relation when we talk about machining in general. All right, so last but not least, one point that I wanted to touch is also what we call the eccentric faceted relief, that it seems to be like in opposition one and the other, because normally an eccentric relief cannot be faceted. Okay, so what we try to do here, it was to combine what we call eccentric relief, okay, that is basically the this portion of the cutting edge, okay. And the eccentric relief is normally a good type of feature for stainless steel and superalloys type of machining, because it's giving you a better edge strength and also give you better sharpness on the cutting edge. So it's more normally for the superalloys type of material. On the other side, the faceted relief is normally used for steel because of its dampening effect. So what we try to do here, it was basically to combine the two designs into a specific design, and you can see that we have facet here on the end mill to make sure that we can get the same dampening effect that is very good for steel, while keeping sharpness for super alloys machining. And here is another type of feature makes clear the versatility that we can get with the VariMill XTREME. All right, so these are some of the features from the geometrical standpoint, giving you the why. Okay, the VariMill XTREME is capable to run aggressive operation and with a high level of versatility. All right, and of course, what we have done also, basically, we optimized the feature based on the diameter of the end mill. Okay, not all the features are included in every single diameter, because in some cases it's important to have them, or some of them, in some other cases, they're not really making a big difference. Okay, so based on the diameter, we have some of the feature or all the features. Okay, and this is valid for the metric item here on the top, as well as the inch items here at the bottom. All right, so before we go to see the applications we can do with the VariMill XTREME, let's have a look quickly at the product range. So the VariMill XTREME is available in metric as well as inch diameter, from 3 to 25 millimeter, and then from 1/8 to 1 inch, and is capable to run all these type of different applications that you see. Okay, from shoulder milling to full slot, helical interpolation, ramping, trochoidal milling, plunge milling, as well as drilling operation. Available with cylindrical shank, welded shank, safe lock, and something that I don't mention yet is the fact that we always also have a variable helix angle. So it's not only the asymmetrical pitch that I showed you before, but also the asymmetrical helix angle is another important feature that we have on the VariMill XTREME, especially to reduce the vibration when machining certain type of material. All right, so now that we understood the why, okay, of the VariMill XTREME, now we can see how or what the VariMill XTREME can do in different type of application. And what I'm going to show you are some of the application we did in the lab, not running a usual type of steel, but we challenge ourselves running this operation on a wear-resistant type of steel, something that we normally call Ardox 400. So it's normally a kind of high resistance steel. So you will see the application of the VariMill XTREME in this type of material. So the first thing that I'm going to show you is a 20 degrees ramping type of operation. So here you see the VariMill XTREME entering with a 20 degrees ramping angle and then exiting from the material with the same angle. So coming back also here again to the, let me say, versatility concept, usually ramping can be done from the top to the bottom, okay, of the cave that we want to realize. So with the capability of the VariMill XTREME, we have the possibility also to run extreme ramping angle from the bottom to the top. Okay, so giving you less machining time at the end of the day, because you can avoid the rapid movement to reposition the product or the tool on the top of the surface, running this type of cave in one single operation. So here again, versatility with high performance. I'm sorry. Now, again, side milling operation with a 50% radial engagement. So we are talking about a 12 millimeter hand mill, and here we have a 6 millimeter radial engagement. Okay, nothing special, but when you look at the cutting parameter, so we are running at 180 meter, so approximately 540 SFM with 0.05 millimeter per tooth in terms of feed rate. So really, we are starting to be very aggressive in the type of cutting data that we are using in this case. Next operation, we are going into something a little more challenging, the full slot Okay, so we have a 100% engagement. Okay, so the material, the end mill is fully engaged into the material. In this case, we have a 1 times the depth of cut. Okay, so we are talking about again a 12 millimeter end mill. So the depth of cut in this case is going to be 12 millimeter. Okay, so what we call 1 times D. So you see the chip evacuation, how good it is in this case. Now, even more challenging, we are going to see again the 20-degree full slot, but now we are going to make it into the full material. Okay, before we did like a set milling operation, and now we are doing the same operation into the full slot, into the full material, making even a full slot with a 1 times the depth of cut. So you can understand that in order to perform this type of operation, the chip evacuation and the corner strengths are extremely critical. So that's why our development has been mainly around these two types of problems, okay, to make sure that the chip evacuation is going to be always the best. Otherwise, even especially in this kind of material that are going to be hard and also abrasive, I mean, it's very easy to break the tool. Then now probably one of my favorite. So depth of cut 1.5 times D, the diameter. Okay, so we have a 12 millimeter end mill, and we are running a full slot. So again, 100% radial engagement with 18 millimeter depth of cut. Okay, so for the inch word, we have a 0.472 end mill with a 0.708 depth of cut. Okay, and by the way, this tool has been designed to perform even up 2 times D, okay, depth of cut. That is something that I have not here to show, but already thinking about a 1.5 times the diameter depth of cut in a material like Ardox 400, in my opinion, is something crazy. Okay, so looks how the chips are flying away from the cutting area, and this is possible mainly because of the chip evacuation capability that we have with the VariMill XTREME. All right. Now, another one, I was mentioning before the drilling operation, and here it is. So this is another thing that we can do. Okay, so we can drill into the full material, and you see that even the resulting surface, okay, of the hole is not that bad. Okay, I'm not saying that the VariMill XTREME is a drilling tool, but anyway, if you need to make to drill holes, you know, to reduce the weight of a component, or anyway, you need to drill a hole to start then another type of operation. With the VariMill XTREME, you can do that, avoiding to use maybe a drill or any other type of tool. So again, versatility, condensing two tools maybe into one single tool. Then last but not least, the helical interpolation. Okay, helical interpolation normally include the movement of 3 different axes, okay, X, Y, and Z. And what we do here, exceptionally, in my opinion, is the helix angle that is going to be 20 degrees. Okay, again, thanks to the twisted end face, the dish profile, and of course the chip evacuation that we mentioned already many times, you are capable to go that aggressive into the material. So really, I hope I've been able to give you the impression how unlimited are the capability of the VariMill XTREME to go ramping or interpolating also into the full material. So now we are doing 20 degrees, but you can do even more if you want, because as I said, we have unlimited capability in terms of ramping angle. So moving toward the end of the presentation, the VariMill XTREME has been developed mainly for the Gen Eng type of industry, okay, general engineering, because this is the area where normally we need to have versatility. But thanks to its capability, we have also the possibility to work into the energy as well as the aerospace segment, okay? Because I mentioned already many times that we can machine not only steel, but also stainless steel and super alloys that are widely used in the energy and aerospace segment. So the VariMill XTREME is perfect if you are mainly working in the general engineering industry because of its versatility. But if you are into the supply chain of aerospace and energy segment, okay, like tier 1, 2, or 3, you will benefit absolutely from the VariMill XTREME, because anyway, normally, if you are into the supply chain, you cannot compromise on quality and performance. So what you need is a versatile tool capable anyway to give you quality, okay, and give you performance and giving to life. So most important is reducing the cost per component to remain competitive and profitable, but in the same time delivering high quality products to the end user, okay, to the final customer, especially if you are into the aerospace and energy segment. And of course, as we have seen widely during the presentation, the VariMill XTREME give you the possibility to run aggressive cutting parameter and let me say reduce the event of breakages, okay, reducing the undesired machine downtime. That normally this is the type of event that create a profitable issue, because if the machine is not running, these are all money that we are going to lose. Okay, if the machine keep running, you are going to be profitable, and the VariMill XTREME help you to achieve that kind of profitability, keeping your machine running all the time. All right, so the other point also want to make clear, as I mentioned, the VariMill XTREME at the end of the day, it's a 4-flute type of end mill. Okay, there is nothing revolutionary about that. But what we did is really to develop a tool to increase the reach of this type of product. Okay, because as I mentioned already, a 4-flute end mill is like the bread and butter of machining. So every shop floor is running a milling operation needs a 4-flute type of tool. Okay, so it's important anyway that this type of 4-flute is going to be high performance and versatile. Okay, so I made a simple comparison between the VariMill I and the VariMill II, so our existing 4-flute and 5-flute, compared to the new VariMill XTREME, that is the orange line that you see on the radar chart. So compared to the other two styles, so the VariMill XTREME gives you a lot of benefit, especially in steel, stainless steel, and cast iron, okay, and is capable to run on super alloys much better than any other existing 4-flute, while, let me say, cannot be at the level of a 5-flute, okay, but is something very, very near, okay. So also here, if we talk about versatility, it's of course that the 5-flute give you benefit on the ISO-S category, okay, of course, but the 5-flute is going to be really a type of application and material specific type of product. So if you are versatile and you machine different type of material, anyway, even in the super alloys with the VariMill XTREME, you are going to get advantage compared to the other 4-flute design. Also, from the application standpoint, the VariMill XTREME is extremely, I'm sorry for that, but seems to be correct, profitable when we talk about roughing, slotting, plunging, ramping. There is not any other type of tool that has the same type of performance. The VariMill XTREME give you the possibility to run dynamic milling, but of course a multi-flute design, 5 or 7-flute, is always the best solution. So it's good for dynamic, but the main application area of the VariMill XTREME is about roughing, slotting, plunging, so the kind of heavy duty type of application where you need to go aggressively into the material. So dynamic milling is not always for a 4-flute type of design, is more for a multi-flute, as I mentioned. But anyway, it's capable of that anyhow. Okay, so a proven solution. We have a steel block operation where the competitor, it was running also a 4-flute design, and the competitive advantage that we deliver to our customer was the higher productivity, because you can see that we basically double the productivity. So the VF is the table feed, okay, and this is the first way to measure the productivity of the tool, okay, from almost 500 millimeter per minute or 19 inch per minute. We went up to 888 or 35 inch per minute. So it's almost double, or it's 50% more, keeping the same tool life, okay? So productivity is the main advantage for the customer in this case versus the competition. Here is another example where we tested the VariMill XTREME against ourselves for a defense customer making this type of stainless steel component. And the operation, it was basically to open this kind of slot in the middle of the component. And we were running before a 5-flute type of product. Then we decided to come with the new VariMill XTREME. And the main change that we did, it was instead of running 10 times a 1.7 millimeter depth of cut, we did a one single shot operation, taking the 10 operation into one. So we, at the end of the day, increase somehow the productivity and also increase the tool life. So that's why at the beginning I said that the new VariMill XTREME can cover part of the operation that normally we run with a 5-flute design. Okay, so this is not only against ourselves, but is perfectly applicable with a competitive tool. Okay, so if somebody else is running a 5-flute, most probably we can do better running our 4-flute design, also providing not only productivity but also versatility. And then last but not least, proving the capability of the VariMill XTREME into superalloys. So here we are talking about Mnemonic 80A. Okay, it's a type of material largely used in the power generation industry. Here we have an example of machining of the root of these blades, where we have been able to beat the competitor in terms of longer tool life. Okay, same cutting parameter, because on this type of material it's quite difficult normally to increase too much the parameter, but we have been able to beat the competition mainly because of the tool life we have been able to generate. So, all right, as a summary, the key arguments around the VariMill XTREME remain versatility, because of the capability to run different operation and on different material, productivity and aggressiveness. So with that, I reached the end of my presentation. So I hand over back to Isabel to see if we have any question or comment, and I will be more than happy to answer to all of them. Please, Isabel.
Yes, we do have a few questions. So you have already answered this, but can we drill with this tool is one of the questions, and the other that is connected is how deep can you drill with this tool?
All right, this is a very good question, and of course the first is yes, and I left something also in the appendix of the presentation, because we're going to release a brochure. Okay, so a piece of document where you can see the product range, but also the cutting parameter. And what I've done, both for the metric word and also for the inch word, we developed together with our engineering team cutting parameter not only for side milling and for slotting, that are normally the type of parameter that you see on catalogs, but we went really into the detail developing cutting parameter for the helical interpolation and ramping at different angle. Okay, you see up to 15 degrees, and then we have up to 30 degrees, and then up to 45 degrees. But more than that, we also have cutting data for plunging and drilling. Okay, so definitely yes, we can drill. And when the brochure will be released by by next week, okay, because we are in the final stage of releasing the brochure, you will find the exact same table you see here. Okay, as I said, not only for the metric, but I have the same one for the inch word, where you have the cutting parameter for drilling with the related feed rate per revolution, depending on the diameter. for the drilling operation. And then, of course, you have also the maximum depth of cut in drilling that you see is variable depending on the type of material. Okay, shorter the chip of this type of material, longer is the depth of cut that you can do. Then, if you have challenging material, normally we suggest to, let me say, stay light with the drilling operation, because you see on titanium, for example, we only suggest 0.2 times D, because it's a long chip material, very challenging. Maybe on steel you can go even to 1.5 times D in depth. So to answer the question, yes, we can drill, and then you will find all the parameters for that type of operation.
Yeah, and it's a good point that you brought up the brochure, Patrizio, because we, in the handouts, there is a menu on the right of your screen that is called handouts. So we have added a flyer that is a one-page flyer with the overall characteristics that you can download, as well as an infographic that I think is really useful to, just as an overview of the product characteristics. They are free. You can download them, and also you can share them with any people that may find them useful. The next question, Patrizio, is: do you have ball nose type for this VariMill XTREME model?
Okay, so because yeah, I mean, depend. Yes, because it's one of the style that is currently in development, so it's not available today. But we are going to include that in the next expansion of this product, because we are planning anyway to have to expand our range, and the ball nose will definitely be part of the expansion of the VariMill XTREME.
Okay, great. And what is the maximum degree in ramping and full slotting simultaneously?
So as I mentioned, the maximum ramping angle is going to be 45 degrees, okay? And also here, what we did, it was to develop tables with cutting parameter based on the maximum ramping angle, okay? So of course, with the increase of the ramping angle, you have to adapt the feed rate, okay, to make sure to have always the proper chip evacuation and not really break the tool, okay? So on the angle, you don't have any limit at the end of the day. The most important thing is that you're going to adapt the feed rate based on the angle that you want to run. And of course, when you reach the 45 degree, basically you reach the maximum. Then you can go even to 50, but then between 45 to 15 is not going to change anything. So you can run with this type of parameter even at 50 degree ramping angle. But then really depend on the material, depend on multiple factors. But if you follow this table here and you adapt the feed rate, you normally going to play into a safe area, okay? And of course, remember that when you ramp, the feed rate is needs to be multiplied by 2 and not by 4, okay? Because the effective number of teeth in a ramping operation is going to be 2 and not 4, okay? Just remember about that. But anyway, it's specified here on the top of the cutting parameter table.
And the next question, Patrizio, is hi from Hungary. Hi, thank you for joining. Do you have any test results in two steels, for example, 1.224 or 1.2312, etc.?
Not at the moment, because we just released the tool. So we are, meet some customer, and then we are going to expand the selection of the success story that we have. But anyway, when I look at the video that I showed you before, so the one on the Ardox 400, that gives me a lot of confidence that on the two steel we are going to work very similarly, because the two steel are in terms of hardness are going to be more or less similar. So the Ardox is probably a little more abrasive. So I have good confidence that on the 2244 or 2312, 2748, we are going to be competitive anyhow.
What was the hardness of the Ardox 400 material, Patrizio?
So if I'm not mistaken, the Ardox 400 is around 35 to 38 Rockwell C, more or less around that degree of hardness.
Okay, great. We really have a lot of questions. We will try to answer most of them, and then the rest we will send you an email if we didn't answer. How will the Extreme, Patrizio, work in mold steels?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is something that we answered already when we were talking about the question that we got from Hungary. So tool steel, mold steel are going to be more or less the same. So I think, as I said, if we are good on working on Ardox, I don't see any challenge working on mold steel, tool steel. So everything is into the P4, P5 category, even the P6. Okay, on the P6 we are going to, let me say, cross the border with stainless steel, but let me say from P1 to P5, I don't see any challenge work with the VariMill XTREME.
Okay. Do you have this speed feeds chart in English, Patrizio? In
Yeah.
per minute?
Yes, of course, yes. You see that we have also the same table developed also for the inch word, as I mentioned, and they will be also included into the brochure that we are going to release in the next few days. So yes, they are not only metric but also for the inch word as well.
And that is also another question. So when will the brochure be available? As Patrizio said, in a few days, and in English. So then, if it's a different language, probably will take a little longer. Patrizio, given the dish profile, can the VariMill XTREME be used as a pre-drilling?
No, not really, because for pre-drilling is always best going with the drill. So if you have to run a deep drill, like a 25, 30 times D or even longer, is always the best going with a drill, not only because of the profile, but also because of the tolerance, okay? So this end mill, in terms of cutting diameter tolerance, has nothing to do with a normal drill tool, okay? So this is not a drilling tool. It's something that you can do, but if you need to have this as a pilot, I would say no, okay? Especially if the following drilling tool is going to be solid carbide, it's better if you go with a drill for piloting, okay? So that's my recommendation.
And did you make a test with trochoidal milling?
Yes, we did. As I mentioned, so trochoidal milling is doable, okay? Because some of the video that you have seen here, we have also some other videos showing trochoidal milling. Let me say, from my perspective, I will not push too much on trochoidal or dynamic milling for a simple reason, okay? Dynamic milling becomes profitable when you have a high number of flute, okay? Because the advantage of the dynamic milling is having a low radial engagement and very high depth of cut, and then tremendously increase the feed rate because you multiply your feed rate per tooth by a high number of flute, okay? It could be 5, it could be 7, it could be even 8. With a 4 flute, you will never reach the same productivity as a 7 flute type of tool into dynamic milling. So my answer is yes, you can do that, but on the other side, is not a tool for dynamic milling. So you can do that, but don't expect to be highly profitable in dynamic milling. So the profitability comes on roughing, plunging, slotting. So whenever it's going to be heavy duty.
Okay, and another question is, when will gaps be filled on lens and radii?
Yeah, so we, as I mentioned, we are working on expansions. So this is like an initial portfolio covering a good portion of the styles and lengths that normally we see on the market. And then, of course, I'm already working. I'm already compiling a list of items that I want to add to my portfolio. So yeah, so you will see something coming up in the next month for sure for the VariMill XTREME.
Great, and as I said, if you register to our link in the chat, you will receive all the news about the new products. Patrizio, are you adding these features into the aluminum series?
Oh, good question. Yeah, probably it's from somebody that is following very careful our activity. Yes, we're going to have a new aluminum product, and some of the features that you have seen, they will be also in the aluminum product. Yes, some of them. We are going to talk about this product probably between February to March, I mean the aluminum product, because February 1st, it will be the official release date for the VariMill XTREME. And after that, we will start also promoting more and more the other aluminum product. And we are going to organize another webinar talking about that. And you will see that some of the features that we have seen today, they are also into the new aluminum tool. But then, of course, the challenges in aluminum are going to be different from the challenge that we need to face on steel or stainless steel. But yeah, I mean, we are going to take advantage of some of the VariMill XTREME feature also for the aluminum tool, because we know they are a great feature that we have developed.
And Patrizio, in our new products, will we ever see a VariMill XTREME 5 flutes? Our audience is asking.
Yeah, I have to say again, congratulations, because I think you have good eyes. I mean, I'm saying to our audience, because you have seen from the cover that we have a 4 flute, VariMill XTREME 4 flute. That means, yes, we will have a 5 flute that is currently in development. So it's in development, it will take some time, but yeah, definitely we want to have a 5 flute design with similar type of feature as well. So yes.
And this is a tricky question. Maybe we can answer also by email. What is the main competitor for the VariMill XTREME, Patrizio?
Well, actually, is a good question. So I don't want to go to mention clearly anyone, but anyway, what you need to understand is that when we look at the 4 flute landscape, competitive landscape, is probably one of the crowdest arena that normally we have in the market of the cutting tool. Okay, what I mean is that I mentioned already that the 4 flute is like the bread and butter of I'm sorry, it's the bread and butter of machining. So everyone needs a 4 flute. This means that everyone has a 4 flute to offer. So you can go from big names to local producer. And I have to be very honest, oftentimes the local producers are even more dangerous than the big names, okay? Because there are many operating in the US market and many operating here in the European market. They are local, and what I mean about local is that they probably take care about 1 or 2 states, or they only take care about US, and then not playing here in Europe. Those many times are even more dangerous than the big names. So, and if you took the local market share, is probably 50% of the total share of the 4 flute market. So probably if I start naming all of them, I will take an hour. So everyone is a competitor into the 4 flute arena. So, and from our perspective, we think that 4 flute is important because, as I mentioned, everyone needs a 4 flute. And the effort we have done with the VariMill XTREME is really to find a way to reinvent a common design to make sure that we are going to regain an important competitive advantage versus the big names and the local names.
Great. And Patrizio, I think we've answered to all of the questions. So I thank you for staying online 10 more minutes. And I hope that you all enjoyed the webinar. We look forward to seeing you in the next webinars and to discover the next products we have all together, also the next new products. So thank you, Patrizio, for today. And I hope to see you next time.
Thank you, Isabel, and thank you everyone for attending. So I really hope to see you next time for the next webinar. Thank you, and I wish you a good day and good rest of your week.